The greatest mysteries in the galaxy were never hidden inside ancient ruins or forgotten stars. Sometimes, they lived inside a single human heart. Princess Aurelia stood still behind the massive observation glass of the Orion command chamber. Below her, a glowing holographic map of the galaxy stretched across the room like a living ocean of light. Trade routes moved across it like rivers of gold, connecting thousands of worlds and billions of lives. Everything looked perfect. Controlled. Measured. Understood. But Aurelia wasn't looking at the galaxy. She was looking at a report that made no sense at all. At the center of the room, senior officers discussed politics and security in calm voices. No one noticed the princess had been silent for several minutes. She reread the file again. Subject: Nathan Brooks. Species: human.
Occupation: maintenance technicien.
Status: low income. Influence: none. Military record: none. Political rank: none. On paper, he was completely irrelevant. And yet, over 300 independent reports describe him as someone who had quietly changed people's lives. Aurelia frowned slightly. That didn't match anything she had been taught. One report stood out first. An old cargo pilot said his shuttle broke down in deep space. He had no money for repairs. A stranger fixed it, for free. That stranger was Nathan Brooks. Another report followed. A refugee family said they receive hot meals every week for 2 years. No one ever told them who paid for it. Another. A school in a poor district kept getting new equipment overnight. Broken lights replaced. Damaged tools repaired.
No signatures.
No credit. But security footage always showed the same person. Nathan Brooks.
No speeches. No recognition. No rewards.
Just actions. Disappearing into silence. Aurelia slowly closed the file. Her mind searched for logic, but found none. Her teachers had always said the same thing. Every action has an incentive. Wealth leads to influence. Influence leads to control. Even kindness has a hidden purpose. But this human broke every rule she knew. One of the officers finally spoke. Your Highness, we believe he may be a symbol. Someone is using him to influence human regions. Another added quickly. Or perhaps he is connected to a larger network. The explanations sounded reasonable, but something about them felt empty. Aurelia turned slightly. Has anyone spoken to him directly? Silence fell over the room. Finally, an officer answered. No, Your Highness. Only surveillance data has been collected. For the first time, Aurelia's expression changed. Then you studied his shadow, she said quietly, not the man. She placed the crystal data slate on the table. Cancel all surveillance operations. Shock spread instantly across the room. Your Highness, that would reduce our intelligence coverage. Her voice remained calm. If someone is only kind when they are being watched, then the watchers are part of the performance. She turned toward the exit. Her cloak moved behind her like flowing light. I will observe him myself. Gasps followed her words, but she did not stop walking. The advisors protested louder now, warning her about danger, politics, and protocol. But Aurelia had already made her decision. Less than 2 hours later, a small diplomatic shuttle left the royal station.
No annoncement. No escort fleet.
No royal symbols. On the surface, it looked like a simple research vessel. Inside, everything had changed. The Princess of the Empire now wore a plain travel coat. Simple boots. A worn shoulder bag. Nothing about her said royalty anymore. As the shuttle descended toward New Avalon Colony, she watched the planet grow larger through the glass. City lights spread across the coastline like scattered stars. Somewhere down there lived a human who, according to every system she trusted, should not matter at all. And yet, he did. For the first time in her carefully structured life, Aurelia found herself hoping the impossible reports were true. Night had fully settled over New Avalon Colony. Cool ocean air moved through narrow streets, carrying the quiet sounds of daily life. Repair shops closing, small diners still serving late meals, and old apartment buildings glowing under soft streetlights. From above, the colony looked ordinary. But Aurelia knew she wasn't here for ordinary. She moved through the crowd carefully. No royal guards. No attention. Just another traveler in a simple coat. Her hidden translator quietly adjusted to local accents, while a concealed wrist interface collected constant data. Every system analysis gave the same result. Nathan Brooks should have finished work hours ago. So where was he? She slowed as she turned a corner. And then she saw him. Nathan was kneeling beside an old delivery vehicle outside a small grocery store. His sleeves were rolled up. His hands were covered in grease. A portable work light cast a warm glow over carefully arranged tools. He wasn't rushing. He wasn't distracted. He was focused like this moment mattered more than anything else. Beside him stood the vehicle owner, a tired elderly man watching quietly, almost embarrassed to receive help. Aurelia stopped at a distance. Close enough to see. Far enough not to be seen. Nathan tightened a final bolt, then gently tapped the engine casing. "Try it now," he said. The engine started instantly. The old man exhaled in relief. "I don't know how to thank you." Nathan stood up, wiping his hands. "You already did," he replied calmly. The man frowned. "I didn't do anything." Nathan smiled slightly. "You trusted me to fix it." He packed his tools slowly, carefully, like everything had its place in the world. Then the old man tried to hand him money. Nathan looked at it once, and gently pushed it back. "Keep it," he said. "Use it for better tires. Winter is coming." The old man tried again, insisting, but Nathan only shook his head. "No need." Then he turned away.
No prive. No hesitation. No expectation.
Just done. Aurelia stood still. In her world, nothing worked like this. Every service had cost. Every action had reward. Every favor created debt. But this human broke the system without even trying, and still didn't look back. Curious now, she followed him. Street by street, the colony slowly changed. Bright commercial zones faded into older neighborhoods. Children played under flickering lights. Neighbors greeted each other by name. Life here felt closer, more connected. Nathan stopped again. Outside a small bakery. The owner was locking the door. Nathan walked up quietly and handed him an envelope. The baker looked at it once, and nodded like he already understood. "Same as always?" he asked. Nathan nodded. "Same as always." The baker lowered his voice. "If anyone asks." Nathan cut him off gently. "They won't." The baker placed the envelope inside the register without opening it. No questions.
No curiosity.
Just trust. Aurelia frowned slightly. This was not normal behavior. Moments later, a young mother entered the bakery. She looked tired, worried, holding two sleepy children. She searched her pockets, then stopped. Empty. Her expression tightened with embarrassment. I'm sorry," she whispered. The baker paused for a second, then smiled. He handed her a large bag filled with bread and warm pastries. "Someone already paid," he said simply. The woman blinked. "Who?" But the baker only smiled again. "Go home. Your kids are hungry." She left confused, grateful, and unaware of anything else. Aurelia had seen everything. Nathan had already disappeared around the corner. No one had thanked him. No one had seen him. No one even knew it was him. She stood frozen outside the bakery window. Her mind tried to process it. There was no profit.
No recognition.
No social gain. No political influence. Nothing. And yet this pattern kept repeating. Her wrist interface pulled financial records in silence. Nathan's income was low. His expenses left almost nothing extra. And still, anonymous payments appeared across the colony. Regular. Structured. Quiet. Like a system no one was meant to notice. Aurelia slowly lowered her hand. For the first time since arriving here, she wasn't looking for proof anymore. She was looking for understanding. And the more she observed, the less sense it made. Nathan Brooks was walking ahead again. And Aurelia followed, not as a princess, but as someone who no longer trusted what she had been taught about people.by morning. New Avalon Colony looked peaceful again. Sunlight spread across glass buildings, old brick homes, and busy streets filled with normal daily life. But Aurelia hadn't slept. Her thoughts kept circling one question. If Nathan Brooks wasn't acting for reward, then what was he acting for? One act of kindness could be chance. Two could be coincidence. But this pattern was too consistent to ignore. So she made a decision. If he truly expected nothing in return, then he wouldn't notice if she tested that belief. That afternoon, she prepared her first test. A simple leather wallet. Inside it were colony credits, identification cards, and a note suggesting the owner urgently needed it returned. Nothing dangerous. Nothing illegal. Just an opportunity. She placed it near a busy transit stop, then stepped into a nearby cafe across the street. From behind the glass window, she waited. Nathan arrived exactly on time. Same toolbox. Same calm pace. Same quiet focus. He noticed the wallet almost immediately. He looked around once, then picked it up. Aurelia's attention sharpened. He opened it, paused, read the ID, and then, without hesitation, walked straight toward a transit security office.
No counting. No hesitation.
No checking the money. He simply handed everything over. This belongs to someone, he said calmly. The officer nodded, surprised. Nathan turned away and continued walking. 3 minutes later, he was gone from the area. Aurelia sat still inside the cafe. Her first test had failed, but not in the way she expected. He hadn't even considered keeping it. Not for a second. She tried again the next day. This time, she changed the approach. She stood at a crowded intersection holding a folded map, pretending to be lost. When Nathan passed by, he noticed her immediately. "You looking for something?" he asked. Aurelia hesitated just enough. "Yes. I think I'm lost." She pointed to a location on the far side of the district, carefully chosen to make the route longer. Nathan studied the map, then smiled. "I'm heading that way anyway. I can show you." He wasn't. Aurelia knew that. Her wrist data confirmed his real route in real time. But she said nothing. They walked together. As they moved through the colony, something unexpected happened. Nathan didn't rush. He didn't complain. He didn't treat it like a burden. Instead, he talked naturally. "This street has the best food stalls at night. That bridge gets crowded after sunset. Avoid it if you're in a hurry. People here always greet you if you learn their names." He greeted strangers along the way, and strangers greeted him back like he was familiar. A worker waved. A shop owner nodded. An elderly woman called his name from a balcony just to say hello. Aurelia watched carefully. This wasn't fear-based respect. It wasn't status. It was something else. Something personal. After nearly 20 minutes, they reached her destination. Aurelia stopped. "Thank you," she said quietly. "I took your time." Nathan looked confused for a second. "You didn't take my time," he said simply. "We just walked together." Then he gave a small nod and started to leave. No question. No request. No expectation to meet again. Just gone. Aurelia stood still under the station lights. People moved around her, but she didn't notice them. Her first conclusion should have been simple. He is not selfish. But that wasn't the full truth. It was something deeper. He didn't even measure the idea of loss the same way others did. And that was harder to understand than selfishness. Because selfishness could be predicted. But this? This could not. For the first time since beginning her investigation, Aurelia realized she wasn't studying a subject anymore. She was trying to understand a completely different way of being human. And she had no reference for it. The following week, New Avalon Colony settled into a rhythm Aurelia never expected to become familiar with. Morning shuttles crossed the sky. Markets opened early. Repair drones floated between buildings like quiet insects maintaining the city's hidden systems. And Nathan Brooks simply continued living. Same toolbox. Same routes. Same calm presence. But now Aurelia no longer watched from a distance. She observed closely enough to notice patterns others missed. Because something was changing, not in him, but in the people around him. That morning, Nathan finished repairing an old environmental system inside a public school. The work was done quickly, cleanly, and without complaint. When he packed his tools, the school principal approached him awkwardly. "We can only pay part of the invoice this month," she said. "Budget cuts." Nathan glanced at the terminal, paused, then typed a lower number himself. "That should be fine," he said. "Use the rest for the science program." The principal looked shocked. "We can't accept that." But Nathan was already closing his toolbox. Kids shouldn't lose their equipment because adults are stuck arguing. Then he left. No drama. No waiting for thanks. Just gone. Across the street, Aurelia watched from behind a transit display. Her system confirmed the change in payment. He had willingly reduced his own income again. Not once. Not accidentally. But repeatedly. And always without hesitation. That wasn't generosity anymore. It was a pattern of deliberate self-reduction. Later that day, she followed him toward the waterfront. The air smelled like salt and fresh food. Small shops lined the streets. Families moved between them naturally, like they belonged to the space. Nathan stopped at a market entrance. A young child stood near a counter, quietly counting coins. Not enough. The child stepped back, disappointed. Before anyone else reacted, Nathan placed his own items on the counter. "Add this to his order," he said casually. The cashier nodded once, like she already understood the rule of this place. The child walked away with full bags, confused but happy. Nathan was already gone before he realized anything had been given. Aurelia noticed something new. No one reacted to his actions anymore. Not with surprise. Not with gratitude. Not with confusion. It was as if the entire neighborhood had learned a silent agreement. Do not interrupt what he is doing. Do not expose him. Do not turn kindness into attention. That evening, rain returned to the colony. Soft. Constant. Quiet. Nathan helped an elderly woman carry groceries to her apartment after a bus delay. It took less than 5 minutes. He returned to the shelter afterward, soaked slightly, checking the arrival time of the next transport. 20-minute wait. He didn't complain. He just stood there calmly. Aurelia watched from across the street. The rain blurred the city lights into soft streaks of color. And for the first time, she understood something uncomfortable. Nathan wasn't just doing kind things. He was living in a way that made kindness feel normal. Not special. Not rare. Not impressive. Just normal. And that was what changed everything. Because empires were built on extraordinary people. But this man was influencing others without ever trying to be extraordinary at all. Aurelia lowered her gaze slightly. Her original investigation was supposed to answer one question. Why does this human behave so differently? But now a new question had replaced it. How long has this place been changing because of him, without anyone noticing? And more importantly, what happens when kindness stops being an exception and becomes an expectation? The rain continued falling over New Avalon. And for the first time, Aurelia felt like she wasn't just watching a man. She was watching the beginning of something much larger than him. 3 days later, everything changed. Not loudly. Not suddenly. But in a way that felt like the entire colony had been holding its breath without realizing it. And then, it exhaled. Before sunrise, the sky above New Avalon Colony shifted. At first, people thought it was a weather anomaly. Then the lights appeared. Hundreds of them. Silent ships descending from orbit in perfect formation, their hulls reflecting the first gold of dawn like a moving constellation. The colony slowly stopped. Street by street. Window by window. People stepped outside, confused.
No alarm sounded.
No emergency warnings. Only a deep, steady arrival signal echoed across the harbor. Royal-class vessels. Imperial escort fleets. And at the center of it all, a command ship no one on this planet had ever seen before. Nathan stood outside his work truck, toolbox still in hand. He looked up calmly. "Well," he said to no one in particular, "this is new." The landing zone opened near the waterfront. A long corridor formed as armored honor guards stepped into position. Then came silence. A presence walked forward. And the crowd immediately understood, without being told, that this was not just authority. It was royalty. Aurelia stepped out, but not as the traveler who had walked these streets, not as the observer hiding behind simple clothes. Now she wore the full weight of the imperial crown authority. Ivory ceremonial robes flowed behind her like light itself. Silver patterns shimmered across her sleeves. A royal circlet rested above her head, glowing faintly under the morning sky. Every official behind her bowed instantly. No one spoke. No one dared. Nathan blinked once, then twice. "You're the princess," he said quietly. Aurelia walked forward alone. "Yes," she said softly. "I am." A pause. Then she added, "And I owe you an apology." The crowd remained frozen. She stopped a few steps away from him. "I came here looking for a hidden reason behind your kindness," she said. "I thought there had to be a strategy, a benefit, a hidden motive." Nathan gave a small, almost embarrassed smile. "I'm sorry," he said. "I think I wasted your time. I'm not that interesting." A few officers shifted uncomfortably behind her, but Aurelia shook her head. "No," she said. "That's where I was wrong." She turned slightly toward the gathered council. Her voice became clear. "Carrying. Final. Effective. I ordered an investigation into this human," she said. "I believed kindness must have an explanation that fits our systems." She looked back at Nathan. "But I was studying him through the wrong lens." A pause. Then the truth that changed everything. "I studied power. He studied people." The harbor fell completely silent. Even the wind felt like it stopped for a moment. Aurelia continued. "From this moment forward, the Imperial Academy will change." Shock spread instantly through the officials. She didn't hesitate. Every future leader, governors, commanders, diplomats, heirs, will complete mandatory community service before holding office. A murmur broke through the crowd, but she raised her hand slightly. "And compassion will no longer be treated as a personal trait. It will be required for leadership." Nathan looked uncomfortable now, like the attention didn't belong to him. "This feels a bit much," he muttered. Aurelia ignored the reaction behind her and stepped closer. Then she removed something from her shoulder. A crystal insignia. The highest honor of the Empire. It had never been given to a civilian. Not once. She placed it gently into Nathan's hand. "This does not reward what you did," she said quietly. "It reminds us of what we forgot." Nathan looked down at it, turned it slightly. Then, without ceremony, he gently closed her fingers around it. "Keep it," he said. Aurelia frowned slightly. "Why?" He shrugged. "Because I don't need a reminder to be decent." A pause. Then he added softly, "Just make sure people don't have to earn kindness before they receive it." Aurelia nodded once. "I promise." And for the first time in her life, a promise from a ruler wasn't about power. It was about responsibility. Years later, the Imperial Academy was rebuilt, and at its center stood a statue. Not of a king, not of a warrior, not of an emperor, but of an ordinary human. A man holding a worn toolbox, standing still, looking forward, like he was ready to help someone again.